Jossie Ross is an attorney. He is a member of the Blackfoot Nation, and he is host of the podcast Break Dances with Wolves. And Nick Camino is a Cleveland talk show host, and we're glad to have both of you here. Nick, put this issue for us nationally. Tell us how large it is on the local radar screen every day, day to day.
Well, it's become big, Bob. I mean, now that you've seen the Indians take the Block C logo and make it the primary logo for the franchise, and you've sort of seen them begin the phasing out of Chief Wahoo. That's sort of what it feels like. And I think for some Tribe fans that grew up with Chief Wahoo and grew up rooting on the Indians, that pulls at the heartstrings a little bit. You know, they don't really look at it as a racist symbol. They look at it as something they can get behind their team. They grew up with it. So it's not really, you know, the point of racism here in Cleveland. It's just getting rid of what people grew up with.
You say phasing out. I know that they've done away with their alternate jersey for 2017, but still each jersey will have the logo on it, and the home hats will have Chief Wahoo on there. So does that represent a phasing out?
Well, I think that the fact that they made the Block C the primary logo is already beginning to slowly phase it out. And as we heard, the conversations between Manfred and Paul Dolan, I think listen, we know at the end of the day what's probably going to happen. My concern is that what precedent does this set moving forward? You know, are we going to go to South Bend, Indiana, and take away the Fighting Irish? Are we going to go down to Oxford, Mississippi, and take a look at the rebels? I mean, we fought a civil war in this country. So, you know, my concern about it all is setting a precedent and just opening Pandora's box to endless possibilities of what you get rid of.
All right, Jossie, I saw you grinning. Go, take aim.
Well, yeah, you know, the case Brown versus Board of Education set a very big precedent that said that black folks and white people can go to the same schools. Similarly, the same-sex marriage case also set a precedent that said that people of the same sex could likewise be married to each other. I'm cool with the precedent. And the difference is, and this is important, is two things. Number one is the Fighting Irish in South Bend, Indiana, which I was honored to go down there and speak. If you dig into their history, the Irish folks who were largely Catholic actually had some level of volition, agency, and voice and self-determination in choosing that mascot. There's no Native people who made the decision for the Cleveland Indians, for the Washington Redskins, et cetera, to have that moniker or the mascot associated with it.
Jossie, I stipulate that Native American people have bigger material day-to-day issues than sporting nicknames. There's literacy, there's health care, delivery, all of that. That being said, your reaction to that Washington Post scientific poll of Native Americans that said 9 in 10 just don't give a darn.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, people can draw questions about the methodology. That's not really the issue. As you pointed out, Bob, there are larger day-to-day issues. We have the Dakota Access Pipeline. We have people down on south of the border, that tribes that transcend the Mexico border, that are being deported, literally families being split apart, and we're talking about indigenous families. But specifically about that poll, I submit that they're asking the wrong question. That is that I'm an attorney. I'm a courtroom attorney. Therefore, I've been spit on. I've been called every name in the book. I don't get offended by much. However, the more appropriate question is, why would you submit a particular ethnic group that you don't submit any other ethnic group to, that is having their cultural patrimony, their names, their images, their ceremonial stuff associated with parody and with character, and you don't do that for any other community that doesn't have an agency or voice in that decision? And if you ask that question, it's not, is it offensive, but instead, is this something that you do only to one group, Native people? Then the answer is invariably going to be yes, because that's a matter of objectivity as opposed to subjective opinion.
Yeah, Nick, your sense of the sensibilities of the management of the Indians. We've got 30 seconds.
I think they've got a real good feel on it. I think they've handled it perfectly. I think the Indians have slowly, as we said, begun to phase out Chief Wahoo. Maybe by the 2019 All-Star game, we won't even see it. I think at the end of the day, we know what's going to happen. My concern moving forward is the precedent it sets. And you know, listen, the counselor who's on with us, he understands what precedent set. And you mentioned the poll. 90% of Native Americans couldn't care less. There's your answer right there. I don't think it's that big
The
of a
answers
deal.
are divined, as Jousey pointed out, by the formulation of the question. 2.5 years. We'll see what the activists have to say in the meantime. Gentlemen, thanks so much. Jousey Ross, Nick Camino, appreciate your time.